And the contrast with the Kuomintang was just so appalling that everybody had to say, well, this is the future of China.
And now, after centuries of emperors and warlords, Western domination, and Japanese occupation, it was the communists under Mao Zedong who would try to govern 1/4 of the human race. Their first few minutes were rocky.
All the microphones on the rostrum were live. We were not used to these things. Our leadership wasn't. And they were conversing among themselves and joking and laughing and so forth. And everybody was laughing below because they weren't supposed to hear all this. They weren't meant to.
Han Shu, a minor communist functionary at the time, had a big job to do that day.
On the afternoon of the October 1st, I was given a very important task and to send copies of the proclamation of the founding of People's Republic of China to the Consulate General of United States. So we just told the then U.S. government that the People's Republic was founded and only asked for a recognition.
There was a kind of assumption, beginning with the Secretary of State, Dean Acheson, that indeed we were going to recognize, assuming that there was established a legal, legitimate government, that it was in full control, and that it was maintaining peace and order in China.
But powerful forces in this country were outraged at what they considered a betrayal of the nationalists. Their most influential voice on the Senate floor was the late William Knowland of California.
May God grant there is time to rectify, in part at least, the Asiatic debacle now in the making, even while we meet here today. Mr. President, it is a fallacy to believe that there is any basis at this time or in the immediate future for the recognition of the communist regime in China. They have had no free elections. They have an absolute dictatorship. It is a government which has been established by force of arms over a part of China. I have no doubt that all the communist forces throughout the world are tied together in a master plan. It makes very little difference whether they be Czechoslovakian communists, Polish communists, or communists from Soviet Russia or China. I think they are all working toward the overthrow of what we like to think of as a free world of free men.
The Chinese communists did not go away nor change their dictatorial tune. Full diplomatic recognition from Washington took nearly 3 decades.
Mao Zedong wrote that politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics with bloodshed. He'd had the one, now he would have the other. The sayings of Chairman Mao would be recorded in this, Mao's Little Red Book. By the end of autumn 1949, our world seemed to be colored not a little, but a lot red. Come back to that legacy of that crowded room and the strangers we met there.
Our world continues. A crowded room in the fall of '49.
Welcome back to the Whatever Happened To part of the autumn of 1949. A freedom rider in Alabama or a victim of the Cultural Revolution in China will tell you, truthfully, that race relations in this country and political oppression in China would get worse before they got better. But they did get better. Some of the things from the fall of '49 just got bigger.
The sky is no longer bright canary yellow only because nuclear bombs are tested underground. And 5 countries have nuclear bombs now, including China, which the United States finally recognized in 1979. Open communication between the 2 countries has resulted in an exchange of goods and, it would seem, an exchange of ideas. In the winter of 1987, we watched on television as communist Chinese students took to the street to demand, as they put it, more democracy.
Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline.
Yes, television spread across a crowded world, but now it's usually the news that's live and not make-believe drama.
Could become the first Middle East terrorist.
Direct hit on faceplate.
Studio One went away.
Killed in turret chamber.
That's not true. Well, of course it's true.
But Charlton Heston came back.
To him, you have no right to give him that information.
Stay put for 10 minutes and see for yourself.
Runaway cars that are shot forward or backward very fast.
Betty Furness stayed put, outlasted any product she ever pitched, and now compares products on television news.
For this year have been an Audi 5000.
Because all those babies that were booming in 1949 are buying in 1987. They don't like being called yuppies. It implies they're all as alike as the suburbs so many of them grew up in. But look, the matched set of little boxes that was Levittown in 1949 is, in 1987, an unmatched set of bigger boxes. Towns change when people change them. For example, in Peekskill, New York, you never hear talk about stoning the niggers anymore. After all, you don't throw rocks at the mayor.
There's an old man called the Mississippi.
Paul Robeson is dead, his song is ended, neither his melody nor his memory have lingered on. Robeson is a story that has been lost in the crowd.
Got troubles, what does he care if the land ain't free?
Well, there it is, the way it was for a couple of months in the fall of 1949. When the Soviets got the atomic bomb, a manual sponsored by the U.S. government called How to Survive an Atomic Bomb advised men to wear wide-brimmed hats, gave some protection against the heat flash, the manual said. Radioactive fallout, we were told, was much the same as sunlight. Too much could kill you, but moderate exposure was just another hazard of contemporary life. Of course, that was before the A-bomb became the H-bomb, before fission became fusion, before this country and the Soviets began to think seriously about limiting, if not eliminating, nuclear weapons. Not much has been done about that, but at least nowadays you don't hear a lot about wide-brimmed hats.
Milton Berle had the most popular show on TV. It aired Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock on NBC. Perhaps CBS figured it might as well concede the hour, as far as ratings were concerned, and use the time instead to try something new and different and maybe even, you know, enlightening. Who knows how these decisions get made in television? In any case, CBS chose to broadcast an all-black variety show opposite Berle. The all-black variety show went on the air on September 13th and off on October 20th. Now Bill Cosby stands where Milton Berle stood. As for our world, it may or may not be enlightening, but it's February, and we're still here, and so it goes, or so one hopes.
These things also happened in the fall of 1949.
11 leaders of the Communist Party of the United States were sentenced to up to 5 years in prison for conspiring to advocate the violent overthrow of the government.
The Great Lakes cruise ship Noronic burned at its dock in Toronto. 132 people died.
Colonel Matt Wynn, promoter of the Kentucky Derby, died at 88. In the 47 years that he ran Churchill Downs, Wynn said that he never owned a horse, placed a bet, or took a drink before noon.
In Cleveland, Charlie LaPica, who said he would sit on a flagpole until the Indians went into first place, came down after 177 days. The Indians never made first place.
Jackie Robinson was voted most valuable player in the National League.
Our world film editor, Florence Minor, was born on October 22nd.
For the Our World Viewer Guide, write to Community Relations, ABC, 1330 Avenue of the Americas, New York, New York, 10019.
For a transcript of this broadcast, send $3 to Our World Transcripts to John Street, New York, New York, 10038.